I think the two main things, we moved some practices to the morning, and which sort of changed the routine, get the guys up, get them going. And the second thing is we've done a lot more work, good on good, what I call good on good. We've worked against the first team, probably as much as it is 20 minutes a day minimum in practices. And I don't think we did that much in previous years. Our scout teams were really thin this year. Our football team is very thin as far as total numbers, and our scout work has been very difficult. And I think that has helped in preparation. And I would assume those are the two things. There may be some other little things that he's done, tweaking the schedule, different things like that. Those are the two things to me that have been the most important, especially working with each other, first team against first team.
Right here.
Shawn, was there a part of you, because of where you were, that always wondered what a bowl experience would be like, and I guess how's it been for you to do this for the first time?
It's a little bit the same as a national championship type game, in the 1AA category, so to speak. You come in, you got 4 or 5 days to prepare. They take you around, you do different sites and have various events. It's definitely a little more laid back because in that sense you have a championship on the line, and here is such an important game, but not playing for it all. But there's not much difference other than the game itself.
Right in front.
Shawn, can you speak a little bit about the Florida State defense? I know you probably would go back and look at what they did in '09, but they were among the worst in almost every category in the country. And what you see this year and the types of things they do in that, can you believe they were as bad as they were in '09 from what you see in '10?
To tell you the truth, I haven't even looked at 09. I mean, it's a whole different football team, different group of guys. The way the coaches scheme of things they're running. They've got better athletes I see up front. The 4 down up front are as good as you're going to see in the country. They're going to come off the edge and press you. When you think of the Seminoles, you think of great teams that can run. Secondary players, linebackers, ending line. They're just great skill position players from top to bottom, not just their linebackers and secondary, even their D-line. I mean, you look at their ends, they can get up the field and pressure you so well. It's going to be a challenge. They're a good defense.
Right here.
Shawn, you started the year with kind of limited depth on the line, and really outside of the injury to Garrett a few days ago, you've kind of been healthy the whole season. Is that pretty amazing to you that you got through the whole year, 13 games without a real major injury?
It's really not. I think if they're well conditioned, they're well prepared, things don't catch them off guard quite as easily. You tend to make it through a season. I've been a coach that's had a limited number of depth ever since I've started coaching, especially on the offensive line. So this year was no different. You try to prepare 5 guys each and every week. You get a couple of backups, a little bit more reps than others, so they can fill in various spots. But you like to go in with 7 or 8 guys, and then this year it turned out to be 6 or 5 guys. But we've got 5 that can go out there and play, and a 6th guy that can rotate a little bit for us. So we'll see where we end up in the end of the night, New Year's Eve.
And back.
Ellis, Rodney Hudson, Florida State's guard. How good is he? Can you compare him to any guys you've seen through the years?
Very good football player. They're a good-looking bunch overall. He stands out. Very mobile, physical. He pulls a lot in their power schemes and their other schemes, and he does a great job at point of attack, getting movement. Brad has been very impressed with him. And we've obviously seen some pretty good offensive linemen going through the schedule in our conference. But he is a really fine football player. And I've coached against Coach Big Trickett several times now. I think he probably is one reason they're so good up front. I think he does a great job of coaching them. And kid reminds me of a center they had at West Virginia when I was at Mississippi State. And, he could do some things physically that allowed him to do some blocking schemes that sometimes other teams wouldn't even try. He could reach a technique outside that another kid can't do, and that allows him to do some things that really help him. And their X's and O's too. But he is a fine football player.
You remember the guy's name, the West Virginia player's name?
I don't.
Yeah, right here in front.
Shawn, what's Garrett's?
I don't anticipate him playing. I really don't. He tried to give it a go yesterday, tweaked it a little bit in our team situation. but I don't expect him to be available Friday.
Thank you, Phil.
He answered my question.
Okay, right here.
Ellis, can you just talk about Florida State's offense, what you've seen on film, what jumps out to you about them, and what makes them successful?
Well, first thing is athleticism up front and in the skill positions. They're starting to resemble some of the old Florida State teams that could really stretch you in the skill positions and very physical in the offensive line. The quarterback situation has been the biggest difficulty for us. They're both very mobile. They're both 220 pounds plus. They both have very strong arms. It seems to me that when Ponder plays, there's a lot more checked plays at the line of scrimmage, either his knowledge through experience or the thing that they trust him with more of the game plan. And then when Manuel plays, it's a whole lot more physical running game with a lot more option. But you really can't take two different game plans for the two different guys. But they're a very good football team. Statistically, they've done very well. They've moved the ball to some people at critical times. I mean, it's very difficult to take any one thing away from them. They're balanced, a good group of running backs. They play as many as 5 of them a game, including their fullback. I think the tight end not playing would be a huge loss. We have not seen the backup tight end that much. That makes it a little bit difficult for us, though, in the scheme of preparation. Will those personnel packages disappear, or will they find another way to do it? So from our preparation and from those standpoints, it's been pretty difficult to make sure you've got everything covered and repped everything and have a plan for everything. But the athleticism make it very difficult. I guess probably about the 8th or 9th time I've coached against Coach Fisher, and he does a great job using personnel. You know, he's had guys like Jamarcus Russell and guys like Manuel, and he can adapt and make things work and fit that player and play to that player's strength. So it makes it very difficult. But they've done a super job, and it's going to be very difficult, very difficult task in trying to defend them.
Back in the back.
Obviously, Shawn, Garrett can't go. It's been an unbelievably up and down year for him. What do you say to him now that his final game, he's not going to be able to play? How do you kind of calm him down? What do you say to him as a person more than a player?
That's a great question, because when I found out he injured his knee, I really sat back and said, boy, that's going to be devastating if he can't play in that final game, because he said, his story is so, coming from where he's come from to do what he's done and then to take this away from him here, it's such a disheartening event. I don't know. He's going to be emotional, just knowing you can't go out there and finish what you started with your teammates, and it's something that's meant so much to him. You just got to go out there, and you don't have to win the game for him, but we need to play well for him. We want him to go out, as we all do, with a victory. So we'll do our best, and when we're in there in that locker room, who knows what we might be saying. We might shed some tears, we need some hugs, but we're going to try to get a win and make us all go out feeling pretty good.
His high school coach said he thinks he has the NFL potential. Do you think, obviously he's raw, but do you think he does have that NFL potential?
I've never coached in the NFL, I can tell you that. Those guys, that's for them to decide. I just do what I can here for him, but he's got some ability.
Right here.
Coach Johnson, following up on the quarterback situation for Florida State, not knowing exactly who was going to be playing quarterback, how did that change the way you prepared your team since you just found out this week that Ponder was going to be in there?
It really didn't change how we prepared, because we knew all along we probably would have to be ready for either or. In talking to a couple of close friends at Clemson, they were facing a similar situation. And frankly, I agree with them. They don't run a different offense. They run their offense with both kids. The only thing that I feel like I've noticed on film is that Ponder will take them out of some plays and check some things more often. Maybe that's a game plan. Maybe that's just that kid's experience. What's made it more difficult for us is you have to be prepared to defend all the things that those two different kids do so well. Ponder checks a lot of their 3-step passes against bad defensive looks that they can't run the ball. Manuel checks to the option, gets the ball out on the edge. You got a different problem, but you got a major problem. They're both very talented. Obviously, Christian's a much more experienced player. They think he's probably a better player. They wouldn't be playing him with limited practice. But it's been a difficult preparation, that makes sure we've got a complete package. And sometimes in these bowl situations, you've got 13, 15 practices, and you almost can overdo it. You got to be careful about trying to do too much against whatever they have, and then all of a sudden you haven't got anything really polished. But those two kids make it difficult, even more so.